Hello and welcome to this episode of Tracker Magic with me, Bruce Chalmers. Today we're going to take a quick look at the Tracker Spatial extension and how you can quickly import some data and add some context to it. The Project Tracker Spatial extension collects simplified geometries of most of the Petrel objects across the different projects and transforms them to a single CRS. These objects can then be accessed as layers in ArcMap, and they come in as query layers which can be filtered or edited based on some different parameters. Once in ArcMap you can publish or export these as web maps or KML and include some hyperlinks or metadata about the projects. But inside ArcMap itself there's a really good workflow to follow to quality control the Petrel data across the Petrel projects. So in this example we're going to look at how to connect to the tracker database, how to add the layers, how to label and color the data, how to split down the layers into some sort of groups, and how to add another source to quality control the data. And hopefully this can help you quickly separate the good data from the bad. So let's jump straight into ArcMap and see how this works. So the first thing we do is have to connect to the tracker database. This is done by saying File, Add Data, Add Query Layer, and then we can say click on the Connections button and say New Database Connection. Choose the platform, in this case it's SQL Server, and then define the instance of the tracker database. Then choose your authentication type, and then from the drop-down choose the tracker database itself. So let's use this tracker 4 demo dataset I have. Press OK. Let's call it Bruce Tracker. Press OK. Then we see we're connected to the tracker database here, and we can add into ArcMap any of the views which have this spatial prefix extension. So you see here we have views for 2D and 3D interpretation, project extents, which is the outline of the Petrel project, polygons, seismic lines, wells, etc. The tracker also has some very basic mispositioned queries, which helps you identify data that's the same name but in a different location. Let's start by adding in my Seismic Cubes from this tracker database. And again, this includes all the 3D seismic across all the Petrel projects I've tracked. So let's say 3D seismic. And here we get a quick overview of the different cubes in my map, but let's look at how we can use some of the features of Arc to further distinguish the data here. If I double click on this entry in my layers, I get the settings for the layer, and I can, for example, under symbology, choose a category, choose, for example, survey name, add all values, and that will allow me to color all the unique values of survey by a different value. We could also change, if we want to maybe add a label of the name of the survey as well. We can add that there and get a quick overview of the different seismic surveys in my tracker. Let's add now some wells. Add query layer, Bruce Tracker Spatial Well, and let's call this wells all. Press finish, and then I'm just going to turn off the seismic, and then by double clicking on wells I'm going to make it slightly more visible by changing the width of the line. And here you see my wells across all my Petrel projects. I can right click on this and say, for example, open attribute table and get some more information about the layer I'm showing. And you can see here that I have a lot of wells belonging to this North 32 reference project. So maybe I want to split this layer to just show me the reference wells and then compare that with all other wells. So let's look at how you can do that. So let's keep this one as it is, but what I'll do is say definition query, and I'll exclude the wells. Let's say query builder, and say exclude where the project is not like dot pet R, press verify, OK, then press OK. Then I should get a filtered layer, and if I open the attribute table, you should see that this is now all the other Petrel projects that don't belong to any pet R's. And then if I say add data, add query layer, choose again spatial well, say reference wells, finish, and this time I'll add a query which says select projects which are like pet R, or in this case I'm going to use my north reference project. Press OK, and this time let's change the symbology to something a little bit more visible for those. OK, and here we can see my reference projects together with my working wells, and I can make a comparison between the working projects and the reference projects and see if the data is consistent. So let's look closer in this region here where we have some data. Zoom in here, like so. Let's maybe add the names to the reference wells. Let's say label by name, and just check that it can do that. Here we have the name for that well in the reference projects. I can click on the other wells and find out what they're called. In these examples here, they're just some planned wells that I've got in the area. So let's finally look how you can quality control some of this with another source. So what I'm going to do is add another set of data, but this time just data from the NPD. Click add and make sure I have the well bores active, and I'll turn off the label for this one. And here we can see this well label, which is coming from the NPD, is consistent with the one I have defined in my reference project. So that was a quick overview of the kind of things you can do with the tracker and the type of data types you can combine together in a single space and help quality control. Please give this a try and let us know how you get on.